It's not uncommon for people to feel stressed out by the events of everyday life, such as upcoming deadlines, trying to figure out what to get for your mom's birthday, or even dealing with texts from that one kid who you never really should have given your number to, because they never show up to class. However, there is one specific group of people who deal with more stress than the average individual has to deal with: South Koreans. Both K-pop stars and average individuals deal with some major stresses throughout the course of their lifetime, and their government has yet to invest a significant amount of effort into solving this problem. The pressure to succeed and do well in life starts at the very beginning of a South Korean's elementary school years, but is only emphasized at the start of their high school career. In the United States, a lot of pressure is put upon students to do well in the SATs, a test that helps an individual get into college. The same is true for South Korean high school students, but the test taking is a much more serious business. The mandatory test that South Korean students must take is called the Sunung, also known as the College Scholastic Ability Test. However, the Sunung takes a total of 8 hours to complete, while, in comparison, the SAT only takes about 4 hours to complete. Additionally, in South Korea, there are only 3 colleges that are considered top-notch, the best of the best by employers: Seoul National University, Korea University, or Yonsei University. Only the individuals with the best scores are granted access to these universities. Students are often told that the Sunung is their key to a successful future, and if they fail it, they will also have an unsuccessful career. In an effort to make sure that students do well on the Sunung, numerous actions are completed on the day of the test to ensure that students get the best score that they possibly can. The country has a type of nationwide shutdown on the day of the test to prevent the students from getting distracted by any kind of outside source. Businesses will push back their opening time in order to decrease the sound of traffic. Planes are grounded on the day of the test, and local police officers will even act as a type of taxi service for students who are running late. In an attempt to help the students do even better on these tests, parents will often send their children to a type of extended tutoring known as hagwons. These facilities are quite commonplace in South Korea. However, students are not sent to these places because they are falling behind in their schooling. It is often quite the opposite. Jason Bartlett, a graduate student at Georgetown University who had studied in Korea, said the following about these hagwons. In Korea, parents will sign these kids up for years to go to these hagwons for English, for math, even if they're very good. It's not just because they're struggling, it's because they want their kid to be the best, to excel and not fall behind. These hagwons are so popular that kids used to stay at these facilities until the middle of the night. The government actually decided that enough was enough and set a curfew. No hagwon could stay open after 10 p.m. However, all the pressure put on these kids to do academically well is showing in tests conducted by researchers. In South Korea, 11 to 15-year-olds have the highest level of stress out of about 30 developed countries, according to bpr.berkeley.edu. The more shocking fact is that this level of stress seems almost normal. When asked, 97% of South Korean children feel physically healthy, even though the extreme levels of stress could cause bad side effects, such as depression and addiction to certain substances. Most of the time, this unhealthy lifestyle continues from childhood into the workforce. Employees work overtime hours and long days simply to please their boss, even if they do not really have a lot of different projects to work on. The worst part about all of this pressure and stress is that people are not seeking help from counselors to deal with these issues. Due to the culture in South Korea, going to a psychiatrist would mean that an individual would need help putting up with the stresses of everyday life and, as a result, be a dishonor to the rest of their family members. According to the Health and Welfare Ministry, only 15% or so of South Koreans seek treatment to help deal with these issues. However, there is another, less stressful way to get into colleges other than the Sunung, the sushi. This method of getting into college is quite similar to the United States method of looking at the student's GPA, any extracurricular activities, various test scores, and an interview or essay test. However, using the sushi method to get into a college has a negative connotation associated with it and is often seen as the easy way into college. These struggles with stress do not just apply to the middle and poor class of South Korea, it also applies to the wealthy celebrities too. BTS, an internationally well-known K-pop group consisting of 7 members, wrote a song called Silver Spoon, which is about the pressure put on the younger generation to do well in their lives in multiple ways. Upon further examination, there is a reason behind this gap in success and the expectations of the older generation. In South Korea, the older generation is akin to the baby boomers of the United States. They grew up during a time of economic expansion and were able to easily afford things such as houses and get jobs due to many available options. However, now that the older generation has, grown older, they expect their children to be able to achieve the same things that they did. In reality, the generation of young South Koreans often have to give up on their dreams, things like families, relationships, even owning their own house. Often, the older generation tells the younger generation that working hard will be able to get them where they want to go. Occasionally, working hard does help K-pop stars succeed, but often it doesn't work for the average South Korean. BTS is the exception, not the rule. They just so happen to be in the right place at the right time. After all, there are numerous other K-pop stars and groups who haven't received the level of publicity and success that BTS has managed to receive. The only benefit that might come out of this scenario is the idea that the younger generation of South Korea can see they're all in the same boat, and they can see the K-pop stars are expected to hold up to even higher standards than the average South Korean. Most K-pop stars aren't even allowed to date. 2 K-pop stars, known as E'Dawn and Hyuna, announced that they were dating, and their publisher fired both of them. By the time the international fanbase displayed their disgust at their management, the damage had already been done. Both E'Dawn and Hyuna refused to fix their contracts and decided to continue on their own. The decision to separate from their management group, Cube, almost paralyzed Cube's website and caused a 6.57% drop in their stock price. With the amount of stress that all South Koreans go through, they must be incredibly strong, especially in the mental and emotional sense. While the South Korean government has invested money into trying to resolve the unhealthy stress levels in kids, they aren't putting forth any effort to fix the issue. However, the K-pop stars are trying their best to combat this issue by writing songs expressing their disgust with the system and are breaking the rules, showing that South Koreans don't have to deal with the pressure placed upon them. It's okay to follow a different path from what's expected of you. After all, taking the different path might be the very thing that allows you to break the mold.